Thank you all for being here. Discussion about casting and the business of acting. So we have with us tonight Amir Arison. Come on down. We have Tawny Cypress and Talia Thiesfield. And let me just say, Tawny and Talia are also in our opening night film, Inez and Doug and Kyra, which opened Monday night here to a packed house. It was awesome. So congratulations on your film. So I'm going to ask first each of our actors to introduce themselves and tell us a bit about themselves. We'll start with Amir. Yeah.
Sure. Hello. Happy to be here. Back at the Big Apple Film Festival. I was here 2 years ago with a feature called 20 Weeks that I acted in. And I'm also have a short film playing tonight that I directed called Tati's Fashion Show with a young cancer survivor for a nonprofit company called Angelite Films that makes films with kids that have or have had a brain or spinal cord tumor. And sort of have been trying to direct more. As I get older, I'm sort of looking forward to having a plan on having a twin track career where I can both act and direct. But I make my living as an actor. And I've been doing that since I was making a living since I graduated college. I've been acting since I was 8, and currently I work on a series called The Blacklist on NBC. And Tawny was on it a bunch. She was on it.
My name is Tawny Cypress. I'm a Jersey tomato. I have not had a real job since, well, it wasn't even a real job. I was 18 years old, and I was a bartender at the Limelight. And I've been acting ever since, professionally, over 20 years now. And I'm currently recurring on Lincoln Rhyme on NBC and Billions on Showtime. And I have Inez and Doug and Kira, which is an amazing film about bipolar disorder and family relations and suicide. And Talia plays my sister.
I am Talia Thiesfield. Forgive my speech. I just had dental surgery 3 hours ago. I, as Tawny mentioned, play her twin sister in Inez, Doug, and Kira. And I most recently spent the entire summer doing a lot of fabulous theater. If you watch Secession, you might spot me on there as well. And I am predominantly just an actor.
So let me ask each of you, probably one of the toughest things to do is to make a living as an actor. Very often we hear that actors they get a role on a show or a role in a film, and then it's back to the grind and trying to get back into something. What's some advice you'd give on having a consistent work as an actor, to make a living as an actor, as you all are doing?
I feel like as the unemployed one, I should be the first to answer that. I say that jokingly and truthfully. A dear friend of mine recently said to me, because we all have our ups and downs, right? You have to have a thick skin in this industry, and every now and then you feel the downs a little bit more than you'd like. And so when things slow down, someone said to me, you really need to find a passion outside of this. This can't be everything. Even though as actors, a lot of us come into this thinking, this is all I want to do. Because truly, you really shouldn't be doing this if you can imagine yourself doing anything else. So we do come into this industry thinking, this is all I want to do. This is my passion. This is what's important. This is everything. And that's great, but it really can't be, because you have to have something else that you're passionate about that keeps you alive, that keeps you fulfilled, that keeps you happy and mentally healthy in the times when, you may be hearing a lot of no's, or you may not be hearing anything at all. So I think my biggest word of advice would be to pursue this with all of your heart, but also pursue something else as well.
I agree with you on that 1,000%. I've always just been an actor, but in my later years, I've gotten very creative in other aspects of my life, and I I make cat houses out of old TVs. Like, it's crazy, like the things that you can come up with that you can do. But the things that I usually tell people, I do teach a class sometimes, and the thing that I tell students is that there are three, in my opinion, there are three things that will dictate the length of your career. And we talked about this the other night. One is your ability to act. There are exceptions to the rule. I have a friend who has never taken a class in his life and has a career, decades-long career. You guys all know his name, and I'm not going to say it because he's never taken a class, and I don't want to embarrass him. But he's doing very well. He's the exception to the rule, but we're not. We're the standard. So you have to have the ability to act. Number one. Number two, you have to have the ability to audition, because if you can't audition, no matter how good an actor you are, you're never going to get back in the room.
And they're different skills.
They're different skills.
Totally different skills.
Yes, and you can learn how to audition. They teach classes for that, and that's great. Exception to the rule. I have a friend who was part of the first cast of SNL, and she will not. That's the only thing she's ever auditioned for. She is a terrible auditioner. Her own words. She won't audition to this day, but we're talking 60-year-long career, Jane Curtin, and she has never auditioned for anything but SNL. Exception to the rule. I audition constantly. And that leads you to the third thing that will dictate the length of your career, and nobody can teach you how to deal with it, and that's your threshold for rejection. No matter what it is. I've seen friends that quit at the beginning of their careers because they can't stand rejection. I've seen friends quit in the middle of the careers, and I'm like, God, just give it a little more time. Get your foot in the door. You got this. I've seen friends quit at the end of their careers. You know, you never know where that's gonna, where that threshold is, where that line is. And my only advice is, on my bad days, I'll take 2-3 days not to get out of my PJs, eat ice cream for breakfast, hate myself, hate my life, hate this career, and know that at the end, I'm gonna put my big girl pants back on, put up my war paint back on, and get back out there, because the crack is between action and cut, and I'm a sucker for it. So I guess I haven't reached my threshold yet.
Okay. Amir?
Learning so many things. This is, I would agree with everything that they're saying. I really want to echo. Find something other to live for other than acting. Otherwise, your acting is going to be thirsty, and your auditioning is going to be needy, and that is a turnoff. It's just like dating, you know. Don't look like you're trying too hard, even though you are. But can you ask me the original question again?
Yeah, advice on having a sustainable career as an actor.
Okay. So, well, there's a few elements.
Remembering your lines.
Yeah, that's important. Actually,
And your thoughts.
I'm actually when I do workshops too. I'm actually glad you said that. Remembering your lines. When I've worked with sort of kids that want to act, or and by the way, that's something I do to sustain as well, is teach, and sort of teach getting into directing, and so it's connected to the world of the arts and so forth. It's connected to acting, satisfies something, it gets you back to basics, gets you back to when you work with kids that want to act, it reminds you of the original source of the love, of why you wanted to do it in the first place, and how pure that is. Do a workshop, take a workshop, do some workshops with kids, but I came up with this thing. My mom told me, she's like, when you teach, 95% of what you say, no one's going to remember. So find one thing that's really important to you, and they may retain that, and make sure you drill that. So I came up with a thing called the 4 Ps. I teach these kids, and I call these the 4 Ps for what I like to think of as professionalism, which also I've learned to help apply to life. And you use them for auditions, you use them for when you show up on set, you use them for when you showed up to rehearsal. and you can use them when you show up, when you wake up in the morning. But really, number one, before you go to an audition or show up on set, preparation, preparation, preparation. There is no substitute for preparation. When I was auditioning for something when I was young, I remember Angela Pierce, she told me, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna do it good. She goes, the only thing in your control, because there's nothing in your control, is how much you prepare. So I was like, if I'm not gonna get this part, I'm not gonna be the reason I didn't get this part.
I love that.
I am not gonna be the reason that and when you're extremely prepared, that can push you through nerves. Jane Kerr, that character, I don't even know what the line is. It just comes out of your mouth because you are prepared. So that would be one. Number two, I would say remain positive. We have to go under the sheets and eat ice cream sometimes, but maybe don't
live there.
Don't tweet that. Yeah. I don't. So remain positive. The other thing I would say is remain patient. It can take. Christopher Reeve said something he had learned. Like you go on 100 auditions and you're doing well if you book one.
Yes, true.
And Superman was, I think, number 99 or number 100 after not booking a part in like anything. So I also think that makes it. And then, I forgot the first one. Be punctual. It's a very simple thing to do. It goes a long way. So if you show up and you're on time, or Debbie Allen says, early is on time and on time is late.
Right.
You just give yourself a chance to like shake off that New York, your coat, the heat, the weather, sit down, have a drink of water, go to the bathroom, and you're calm because you've prepared. There's not much, you're not cramming your sides, It doesn't matter if somebody's laughing inside or scowling or someone's you can't be thrown off your game when you're prepared and you're on time. And if you remain positive and patient, you might wait in that waiting room for 2 hours. Stay cool. Do not get shook, because everything in this business is designed to shake you. And if you can figure out how to root yourself with a creative endeavor or something, then that's what I would say helps you sustain. Now financially, I'll just say something financially. It's hard to have consistency as an actor. So when people have to have side hustles and gigs, I always say try to find something that won't take away your mojo. Like if you're gonna bartend late at night, or you're gonna do something and you're gonna lose your voice and you're gonna be around smoke and drinks, or if you're going to be something that takes you far away, and you can find something they'll be cool if you get out, if you can get out and go to an audition or something, or they understand that you're an actor, or if not, that it's a freelance gig that you can set your own schedule. If you're teaching SAT prep, I know someone does. So I would make sure that if you're side hustling, make sure that you honor your craft, and then you have that to lean on without them, oh God, I got to make rent, so I got to bartend tonight or something, and then you lost that opportunity that you've been waiting for the next morning, your whole life. So anyway.
All right. In terms of working with casting directors, I just want to ask each of you, how do you go about, if you're an actor just starting out, your name is not known as of yet, how do you go about approaching casting directors and agents and others who can help you sort of get through the front door? Should we start with Talia?
Yeah, there was a time when the whole workshop thing was, casting workshop thing was like the thing to do. And I know since then there have been some debate about that. But I still think that it's worth researching. For me, early on, I did do some of those casting networking, workshops. And what it did was it gave me the introduction and the opportunity to make an impression, and then hopefully be called in for a co-star or an under 5 or something where I could just test the waters. I would my only warning would be, research who's going to be in the room, make sure you're not getting the assistant's assistant. Don't pay through the nose unless you're going to be seeing the casting director or somebody very close to the casting director. But for me, really, the successes that I've had in building relationships with casting directors have really been once I've gotten into the room. I make it a point to try to make a fan every single time. And for me, it's I think it goes with what you were saying about being positive. I walk into the room thinking, I'm just here to make friends. I'm here to just make somebody think I'm cool, make somebody want to have a conversation with me. If I can walk out the room and have them think, I want to buy her a drink, or like, you know what I mean? It takes the pressure off of the actual audition. I'm not walking in saying I want to book a job or I need to pay my rent. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it makes it a little bit more personable. It also just, it's like a positive affirmation, a way for me to remind myself to just be myself. And so I'll give you one of my little tricks, especially when I was first starting out and really trying to focus on bringing myself into the room. My big thing was I just got to make them laugh. Even if it wasn't a comedic audition, coming in or leaving the room, if I could just make someone smile or laugh, if anything, it made me feel comfortable enough to let the audition go, because that's a huge part of it too. I've definitely, starting out, had auditions where I walked away feeling really shitty about what happened, and then the next time I went in for that casting director, I brought that old audition in with me and made a crappy impression because I gave a thirsty audition. So I think really, I guess that was really rambly, but for me, when it comes to building relationships with casting directors, I prefer to take the pressure off and really think about just building relationships, not booking the job, not impressing, not trying to be what I think that they want me to be, but really just trying to get them to know Talia. And who Talia is in that moment, on that day. There have been times where I walked into an audition with Clint Alexander a couple weeks ago and was like, Clint, I have a migraine. These lights are fucking killing me, you know? And we laughed about it, we kikied about it for a minute, and I was like, okay, let's get this done. And, you know, would I recommend everybody to do that on the first time meeting somebody? No, but I had gotten to the point where I felt I have a certain level of friendship with Clint, and that's my goal. I want to be able to walk into the room and be like, Paul, what's up? How you doing? You know, and then go into my audition, because then I know I'm coming from a more authentic place and they're really seeing me.
Nice. I'm very different than that. I'm a very awkward person. I mean, I don't make eye contact. I'm an oddball. So I feel like from the get-go, I just always wanted my work to speak for itself. So my goal was to make every audition not competitive with anybody else in the room, just competitive with myself. Make it better than the last audition. Let the work speak for itself. I've known the women at ABC for over 20 years now. I knew them when there were 3 women there. Now there's only 2. And they call me in for everything. And it's because they know that when I come in, I'm prepared, and I'm gonna give them what they need, and I'm gonna get the fuck out. And that's it. That's, you know, they've got a whole day of people. I know that, you know. I've got 4 more auditions. They know that. So for me, it was always like they gave me my first job on NYPD Blue, and I went in, and I was 20, and I went in trying to impress them. So I was dressed to the nines, makeup done up, but I was going out for a crack prostitute whose baby was found dead in a dumpster. So I did the audition, and then the ladies said, we'd like to call you back for the producers later today, but could you bring it down? And I said, oh shit, I'm like supposed to come in as I'm not coming in to impress you, I'm coming in to act. Oh, right. So that really changed everything for me. And I went in later with a ripped shirt and no makeup, my hair out, and I got the job. So like, that's how I lead everything, you know? I go in as prepared as possible, because that's our job, to be prepared, you know? And I try to let the work speak for itself. I'm a very awkward person. I don't want to make small talk. I know I like you. I think you like me, but I just wanna move on with my day. You know, I got a lot to do, and that's it.
Amir, do you work with casting directors?
Oh, yours not working?
Oh
We
my
can
God, I'm
share.
sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. We can share. We can talk together.
The crackhead
Amir.
mic. No, Interesting, two different approach. What I would draw from both of those that works for me is I would say never ever apologize in the room. Never apologize for yourself. Oh, my cat ate. Oh my God. Da, 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 da. Oh, the subway. Da, da, da. Even if you're late, even if they're mad at you, you're there. Show up. And again, I go back to preparation. If you are so prepared, it is undeniable you will stand out. And if you keep in mind that you're not auditioning for that job, you're actually auditioning for the next job. Go in there. Do not apologize. You're prepared. You cannot lose. You cannot lose. Not getting the part
If
is
you
not
nail
losing.
every single audition, you're going to have a career because you cannot lose. If you go in completely prepared every single time, they have to
Bring you back.
hire you, fire you. They'll also fire you. I've been there. But they have to hire you at some point. At some point, you're going to start getting work.
Well, they'll bring you back.
And
They're going to bring you back for that. And I can't tell you the number of times I'm like, they hated me and I booked the job. And other times where I was like, I booked that, crickets. You do not know. You do not like, and I hate it when someone's like on their phone or the reader's bad and you think it through you. Again, like I said, don't get shook. Now, you also asked about agents. Agents and casting, there's a difference. It's a whole different thing. We're talking about like sort of negotiating the experience of when you walk into a room with a casting director. There was a book when I started out called Acting as a Business by Brian O'Neill, and there's a chapter on the agent interview. Agents are a funny thing. They're like kind of like lawyers. And they negotiate, they like to leverage, they like to position themselves. They are antithetical to artistry. So you have to know that you're going into a business meeting, and it's tricky. I still get the bizarre when I'm talking to an agent, or I feel like they're making me. I have to put. No, I'm talking about when you meet them. Like if I meet someone's agent on like a carpet or something, or you're like, oh, they'll purposefully either not make eye contact with you or kiss your ass. It's like, can't we just be? There's not this formal. I don't want to speak on all agents. That's not true. There are some lovely people out there, but maybe that's just the feeling I'm projecting. But again, show up on time, be gracious, be cool, don't be thirsty, and don't get shook. You don't think to yourself when you walk in, they need me more than I need them. And usually inside you'll feel the other way walking in, but don't forget, you are the artist. They need you to get paid. You are the artist. You are the talent. That agent can go away and another agent can represent you. If you go away, there is no unique artist like you on the planet.
And when you're meeting an agent, that is not the time to be humble. Like, it's not. It's the time to believe in yourself fully. When I met my agent, he's been my only agent since the age of 20. Robert Adamant at Abrams Artists. And they've come and gone. A lot of agents have come and gone, but he has been my steadfast. And I remember to this day being in the office with him, and he said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want to die a legend." And it's like that. Those are the moments. Those are the moments that make that they remember. Those are the moments that capture them. You know, those are the moments when you're not just, oh, another thirsty actor. You got something. So it's not that if you're going in to meet agents, it is not the time to be like, oh, I don't know, I'm sorry, I like being here, thanks for meeting with me. It's the time to be like, and what? And what? You want to rep me?
That. They always say, what do you want?
Yeah. And to add to that, I don't know if you guys, well, I'm sure you guys went through the same, but nobody in this business ever knows what they want. Casting directors don't know what the hell they want. Agents don't know what they want. They want you to tell them what they want. So when you go in to meet with an agent, you got to have a pretty clear sense of who you are and what you want, so that when they ask you, so where do you see yourself? You can say, I see myself on this particular show, this type of movie, this is the type of person. And, of course, those are things that change and ebb and flow as we go through life. But I think the clearer you are about who you are and what you bring to the table, and then the more affirmative you are in expressing that, that's gonna be the draw for agents, because they're gonna want somebody who can tell them what to do with them. Again, like you said, they're not the most creative. Yeah, they're the suits.
One more thing I want to say about agents: when you're talking to sort of the medium, bigger agencies, sort of the namey agencies, they have to agree to sign you as a committee.
Yeah.
So you can even win over the room. That agent's like, I want it, and they go, and the bosses are like, nope, they're not 19 years old, or whatever the reason is, and so forth. So again, you can't take that to heart. Well, that agent that wants to sign you may end up at another agency 2 years from now. It's just like with the casting directors. You're auditioning for the next audition. It's a contact. You never know. Then all of a sudden they see you in there, and then you just keep going.
Yeah, when I first started out, there was a book on, do they do this anymore? The A-list agencies, and there's a list of the B-list agencies. They're two different books, and you can buy them, and it literally just has addresses and phone numbers for all the agencies, and you just do mailings, and that's what I did, and I didn't get called from anybody. I just happened to be on an off Broadway play down on the Bowery. And that's how I got Abrams. But it wasn't through a mailing. But I did them because you have to do it.
That's and I can say that this is branching off a little, but I have a manager. I broke up with my agents, and I love my managers, and I have very, very close relationship with them. And I know that they get a lot of their clients by going to see work. That also may be something that managers are more likely to do than agents. They take the time to go out and see things. But that's another thing, kind of in answer to your question, how do we get in touch with these people? If you have the time, energy, and means to participate in readings and workshops and off-Broadway stuff and table reads, I mean, of course, it's always keeping your gears fresh and oiled, and that's great for you, but you never know who's there. You never know who's watching, and that's an incredibly great way to get in touch with casting directors and reps.
So each of you has had careers in mainstream network shows, but you've also worked in the independent world as well. As I mentioned, Amir was in a film called 20 Weeks, right? But he's also on the Blacklist. And Tawny and Natalia as well. As I mentioned, the film that was open Monday night. So my question is, would you say that if an actor has an opportunity for a small role in a major show or a major film, 1-2 minutes on screen, or a lead role like you all have had in independent films, what's a better move for an actor?
It depends on the story, depends on the project. Listen to the artistry of the role and of the story and the message that the story is telling. Go with that. Like, if you need a paycheck because you got to pay the rent, go with the network job.
If you have to make that decision, like it's either or, you're in a really good place.
If it's 2 minutes on screen, make it work. Yeah, if it's a 2 minute thing, that's a day of work. You make it work. You make them make it work. If they
But
want you, they will.
there have been stories for both of those, right? There's the Hilary Swank. They made that film for like under $100,000, and then she won an Oscar.
Is that Boys Don't Cry?
Boys Don't Cry. And then there's the Titus. Titus was a recurring co-star on 30 Rock. They fell in love with him, and he ended up with Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh, I love that guy.
So it's all in the universe and the stars, and you never know. Just
In my situation, I'm the breadwinner of my family. My husband is a veterinary technician. He's a wonderful fucking man, all heart, no money. So I support us and my son, and so I have taken a lot of jobs over the 20 years that I regret and wish I didn't have to take. I wish I could have been more of an artist, or I am an artist, but I wish I could have been more true to my artistry from the get-go.
No shame in working.
No, There isn't.
No shame
no,
in earning money for the family.
No, not at all. But
Lawrence Fishburne was on Pee-wee's Playhouse, okay?
I would say it was circumstantial because honestly, if you need to pay the bills, you take the higher paying job, But artistry, if you're bringing that into it, then obviously you've got to take what's true to your heart. But yeah, can't always.
And I'm just curious, when you work on independent films like 20 Weeks, or Inez and Doug and Kira, versus television work, is there one that you find more challenging, any of you, than the others?
I don't find that different. Not more challenging. Look, there's like catering and crafty and the speed and literally there's a person to pick that bottle up and put it there. I mean, it's almost like embarrassing. But also, where I'm doing our show for 7 years, I still love it like it's day one, maybe not like day one, but I still love it. Like, and some people, and I'm not dismissing anybody, I'm not talking about any actors or crew members, they might just want to get home and they're over it. It's just a job to them. And you have to make sure you don't take in that energy and you still approach it with the joy and the joie. And when you're working on an indie project, no one's getting paid. You don't have that person to pick up that bottle, but everybody, for the most part, wants to be there because they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it to get started in the business, for the love of it. They believe in it. They want to try out a different position. So that's very energizing in and of itself, but it's also draining because the days take 14 hours. You're getting $100 a day. So again, you got to make sure you love it, and then it's like going to camp. It's like going to acting camp, as opposed to going to the corporate job where you get paid well and the benefits are good. It's just like they're both awesome. You just gotta find the love.
It's very true. Our movie, Inez and Doug and Kira, shot in 16 days over the hottest part of the summer. And I don't know if anybody saw it, but there's a lot of freaking crying going on. So it's like endless crying. So it's just days on days on days of like, what level of crying am I doing today? So there was like a level of hell there for sure. But it was very cathartic. And like you said, it was very camp-like. Like we got very, very close very, very quickly. Whereas I have done shows for 2 years where I don't know half the people there. And I'm being taken care of, and the money's great, but I don't have a link to it. I'm not connected to it. So there's another sort of struggle in that, in the getting the money for it, but not loving what you're doing. So I think that there's hell in both. There's hell in both.
Or joy in both.
Or joy. Or joy.
Or joy in both.
Glass half full.
As with anything, right? There's a yin and a yang, and I have yet to be blessed with a series regular myself. So I'll speak from the guest star point of view. Not yet, it's coming, but from the guest star point of view, it's crazy because to me, set life is fast and furious, right? So, and like Tawny said, you can be on a show for years and feel like you don't really know everyone, and that's partly because you've got new people coming on every day, like me, popping in and be like, hey, I'm gonna play your lawyer today, and maybe tomorrow if I'm lucky, So it's a little bit harder to build relationships with people other than the people you're directly working with every day, I would imagine. But it's also really thrilling from my point of view because it really keeps you on your toes. For me personally, the speed with which TV happens is something that really keeps me fresh and on my toes. It keeps me from overthinking and over-rehearsing things, which can, in some instances, be really beneficial. And then with the film, like you said, I really love what you said about feeling like camp, because that's really what it feels like. And especially when you're working on an indie film or a film with a really small cast like ours, we did become really close really fast, which was very necessary for this particular film too. So we were really lucky that we liked each other. And there was a lot of time to we didn't have a lot of time to rehearse, but we just had a lot of time to let things marinate. So it kind of just depends on what your preferred process is. I personally, being somebody who works equally in film, television, and theater, I just love it because I get a little bit of everything. So I get I get that family thing that happens with theater. I get the Fast and the Furious of television, and then the film is somewhere in between. But
Does anybody have any questions for any of our actors? Questions? Yes, right up front.
Hi, so what's the crossover like between theater and television and movies? And how do you navigate that as someone who's a newbie trying to figure it out? Any suggestions as to how to deal with that?
so when you say crossover, do you mean like technique-wise?
Yeah, so for example, like I went to a teacher and he's like adamant about theater is the best way to study for film and television as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they're totally different when it comes to performance.
Absolutely.
So what do you guys think about that?
First and foremost, study with anyone like us who works with people on camera. You work with people on camera, right?
I teach actually an audition class.
Yes, audition class.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for you to break down those differences. I think some people make the mistake of just going to acting class, and especially in New York, there's a lack of on-camera training or really good on-camera training. So if that's something you're really leaning towards and passionate about, I think I would separate your scene study and your on-camera and find someone like Tawny who works on audition technique and on-camera acting, so that you can learn the nuances and the differences, because it's true, the actual auditioning is very different from what you're going to do on set. So I think the more you can break that down and the more you can afford to kind of work on those niches, that's going to help a lot. And then really just as far as like the crossover, staying creative in general has been what's been great for me, because as difficult as it can feel sometimes to be like, I haven't done a musical or I haven't done a play in like months, and it feels so weird. I feel like my feet are stuck in the mud. The more you're just staying creative and you're keeping everything moving, the less of a knee jerk it's gonna be when you jump from one to the other. But I think the best thing I can say is to, whatever it is you want to focus on, find a class for it, because there are differences.
Definitely find a class for anything you want to work on. But I do also going to add to that, I definitely, despite my very good friend who has never taken an acting class and has a very long career and makes a lot of money, I really do think that it's important to learn a technique, any technique. There are a bunch. There's Alexander, there's Meisner, there's Stanislavski. Anything that you want, just learn a technique, because then you can take it from theater to movies to TV, wherever it is. It's really just about making it bigger or smaller at that point. But as long as you have the technique inside of you, if you know how to cry on cue, if you know how to, wear your emotions and listen and react, the pinch and the ouch and all this stuff, then you're golden. You're fine. You'll transcend all of the genres.
I want to add to that. I do think your teacher is onto something on saying train in theater first, because of what Tawny is saying. There's a vocabulary that a director might use on set, like specifically like intentions and objectives, sort of like basic sort of acting vocabulary that you get in theater training. And if you jump right onto a TV set or in an on-camera class, those words, those key words, you might not, if you're coming from zero experience. So I would say just a sort of a fundamentals acting class, which is usually in theater, and then you're getting very specific when you're getting on-camera auditions to then do an on-camera technique class, which is on a very fundamental level. The difference is if you're auditioning for a play, you're coming in and you're filling in this whole space in this room, and there's 3 people there. When you're going to audition for on camera, you're sitting in this chair and there's a camera right there, and the audition is literally you talking to someone, and it's literally your intentions are coming through your eyes and so forth, whereas you're filled. And in terms of differences, there is, she said bigger, smaller, and so forth. Piggybacking on that, people are always like, oh, I have to be bigger or smaller. I'm always like, be careful with that word. That word is correct for some people, but it's almost like you just want to tell the truth. You want to find the truth. And however you get there, and the truth can be big and the truth can be small. The advantage on doing TV is I can say a line like this. You can they can hear you, and you can't do that on stage. You have to say the line you have to have a stage whisper. Those are some, but again, that's for later. That's for later. Learn a technique, and then you build from there based on the direction that you're going.
We have time for one last question. Anyone want to ask it? Yes, sir.
I have a contained drama that I want to prepare for. And I have a 2-part question. One is, how much is too much rehearsal? Right? What's that line that maybe you shouldn't cross? And
Is this a play or a TV project or film project?
It's a film.
It's a film.
Yeah. And then the part B is, you touched on technique, right? So should there be an aim to like different actors on set working differently? I've had this experience with a short where an actor just wanted to go away and do their own thing before the camera rolled. The other actor wanted to do more prep. So how do you find that balance?
So it's more of a director question than an actor question. It's basically how to deal with actors, which is the thing. Bedside manner is hugely important. One thing I would say, which I appreciate from directors when I try to do when directing, is if the director comes to me and they don't come at me with do it like this or do this, and they start with, well, what did you think? And then right away the actor's gonna be like, well, I feel like I'm not sure, and then you'll hear the cue words and be like, I'm really feeling what you're saying there. Let's try that. Why don't we go with that? I think you're onto something. So it's almost like, it's why you don't give line readings, because then the actor is just doing an imitation, but it's not coming from that original artistic source. So you want to encourage that artistic source. Now, you're also the director. If someone wants to rehearse and someone wants to run away and be left alone, you can't please everyone. You're the boss. Say, hey, we're going to rehearse this, but maybe not over-rehearse it so you don't do this, and this person doesn't get to have everything and gets to micromanage all the details of that are not their business. So but I will say for film, rehearsal I think is very important when you have majorly choreographed scenes. But you don't want to over-rehearse an intimate scene. You actually can't fully rehearse it, but you can mark it and get there. But if you ask someone, usually if you're doing like a big crying scene, if their director or the DP knows what you're doing, they'll tell you, we're real wide now, save it. Because they're getting the whole room, and you go through your whole thing, and then you start drying up, and you're spent, and then they're right here on your emotion and your close-up. You know what I mean? Really, and if that's not given to you, ask for it. Find out. I have relationships with all my camera operators. What's our frame? If there's a new director, or they're rushing, and again, don't get shook. Yeah, there's bad energy on the set. Fuck that, dude. It's my moment. And you don't be rude about it. You just are very clear. They can't go until you start going. So you just say, what's my frame? So forth. Okay, da-da-da-da-da. So you know, all right, this is it. Time is running. Give it everything, you know what I mean, and so forth. So it's hard for me to hold back, even on a wide. It just feels like can't not be. It's just.
I don't know.
But I forgive myself if it doesn't go as well as I thought. Yeah, that's the only thing. Right. So that's what I would say.
Right. I'm gonna speak. I can't speak from a director point of view, but I can speak from an actor point of view as far as preparation for an audition goes, and that's all I can do. I get a lot of auditions. Sometimes it's like a full-time job. I'm getting rejected constantly. And the only way, that I can deal with that is by not investing. So not preparing as much as I would like to as an actor. Inez and Doug and Kira came along, right? And I was in the middle of pilot season, or whatever it was at the time. And and I had a lot of auditions that I can't read them all. I can't read everybody's script. I can't. I just can't come up with a character for every fucking audition. So a lot of the times I'm just memorizing lines and getting out there and using my instincts to perform, right? And Ez and Doug and Kira came along and I read it and I said, holy shit, I want to give this everything I've got. It's so far and few between that I find a script where I'm like, oh shit, this is let me get everything I have. And then I couldn't prepare enough. Like, I'm listening to music, I'm crying before the audition, everything I've got, I put into it because it meant that much to me. So I think that it just depends on your level of investment in it. Also, it depends on how many fucking auditions you get. I mean, if you're getting one audition a week, fucking prepare. Fucking invest. You know what I mean? If you're getting 4 auditions a day, do what you can. At least memorize the fucking lines. Don't go in without memorizing your lines. And that's what I say about preparation. I'm auditioning.
Yeah. I was just going to add, as far as actors needing whatever space they need, again, I can only speak from an actor point of view, but Tawny and I had very different characters and very different processes. Tawny needed space, and rightfully so. She had a lot of emotion going on in the film. I needed to stay open, wide open, because... And I was there for you, but in general, like, if Tawny had on her headphones, I'm letting Tawny be with her headphones, because that's what Tawny needs.
But if I went and grabbed her hand, she was there for me too.
Yeah, but that was me being open. I'm open to receive or give whatever she needs, because I know by giving Tawny the space that she needs, she's gonna give me everything I fucking need. And then what that meant was that when Tawny was in her space, me knowing that I needed to stay open, and she wasn't naive. She was more just, I'm searching for the word, but just my character was very much a receiver and an observer. And so that meant that I would make sure that I was staying active and aware and speaking to people and holding conversations, and that's the space that I created for myself. I had a little bit of a social circle in the makeup room, and we were very lucky that our director was aware of that. And when we got on set, like it was already mentioned, our emotional scenes were not overly rehearsed. They were just marked. But if, Julia was missing something, it was in the moment, the adjustments were made. But as far as the time taken prior to getting on set, we were given the space to do whatever we needed, and then the adjustments were made there in the moment. I hope that's helpful. But
Can I add one thing? Because it really feels, protect your actors. Really protect them, but don't overly baby them. They sometimes need to be like, nope, just a little bit. It's not, they don't, but protect them. Show them that you care, and also, especially in emotional scenes, do not overnote them. Just little nudges here, how'd that feel? We have that, especially with film. You can't do that in theater. We got that. You want to try it this other way? What do you think? Let's give it, and they're okay, yeah. And when they know that you... Yes.
You want to direct me? You're amazing. You're amazing. Yes, I would like to.
Well, it's also like that. Why? Do you know why I wanted to be a director? Because with 1,000 directors I've worked with since I was 8 years old, I've just picked up on all the things that didn't work, and were just diminutive and discouraging and inefficient. And I watched people quit. I watched people get fired, and none of that had to happen just because of communication. And it's okay to say, I don't know, as an actor or a director. It's one of the most powerful things you can say. If the actor says da-da-da, I'd be like, I don't know, what do you think? What do you think? And just talk about it a little bit, but don't over-talk about it.
All right, so in conclusion, I just want to give you just a heads up of films to keep your eye out for. Inez and Doug and Kira, which, as I mentioned, premiered here Monday night. Tawny and Talia star in Inez and Doug and Kira, so please keep your eye out for that.
With our lovely Michael Chernus, who couldn't
Michael
be
Chernus.
here tonight.
It's a feature, just the three of you?
Yeah.
And Amir, he has a film premiering tonight called Tati's Fashion Show, which is premiering actually in about a half hour from now, right upstairs in theater number 7. He also has a film called 20 Weeks, which we screened last year, where he stars alongside Anna Margaret Hollyman. And keep your eye out for that film as well. It's called 20 Weeks. So thank you very much, Amir Arison, Tawny Cypress, and Talia Thiesfield. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you.
Thanks, guys.